What's up, what's up, what's up, what's up?
Everybody's sighing.
Well, that's because I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Tom Paxton was probably one of the most prolific songwriters of the 50s. You may or may not have ever heard of him. Actually, he was in Australia last year, wasn't it, or the year before?
Year before.
Year before he was out here. He made 20 albums himself between 1962 and 2006, I think, from memory. Not one of them got to a top 10, surprisingly. But he wrote so many hits for other people, I don't think he saved them for himself, because there was plenty of top ones and twos from his songs from other people. He particularly wrote for, everyone from Tiny Tim to the Seekers, would you believe? His most popular one, which was recorded by about 30 different people, certainly got to #1, Last Thing on My Mind.
It's a lesson too late for the learning, made of sand, made of sand. In the wink of an eye, my soul is turning in your hand, in your hand. Are you going away with no word of farewell? Will there be not a trace left behind? Well, I could have loved you better, didn't mean to be unkind. You know that was the last thing on my mind. You got reasons of plenty to be going. This I know, this I know. Although things have been spent wrong, please don't go, please don't go. Are you going away with no word of farewell? Will there be not a trace left behind? Well, I could have loved you better, didn't mean to be unkind. You know that was the last thing on my mind. As I lie in my bed in the morning, without you, without you, every song in my breast dies a morning. Without you, without you. Are you going away with no word of farewell? Will there be not a trace left behind? Well, I could have loved you better, didn't mean to be unkind. You know that was the last thing on my mind. Oh, oh, oh,
There you go. This is going to be probably the longest introduction any song ever got.
But when you're doing it.
Yeah, well, I'll probably forget half of it.
Well, you
It's
better
fine. When you start researching very, very popular songs, it can get very convoluted, especially since legend seems to get mixed up with fact. But if I went to the full history of this song, it would take all day, honestly. so I'm going
We haven't got all that.
I haven't got all
Thank
those,
you.
so I'll jump from bits to bits. In around about 1948, we find our hero, if you like, Mr. John Newton aboard an English slave ship in the West Indies in a terrible storm. Now, our Mr. Newton, even though he was highborn and brought up in the church, and his father was a merchant ship owner, and he was good friends with Charles and John Wesley, who went on to found the Methodist Church, and also with politicians and even royalty. One politician in particular is of interest to us, and that is William Wilberforce, who went on to be the one who actually finished slavery in England. This slavery in England, in case you're a bit puzzled by that, a lot of slave ships went from out of England and picked up Africans from the African coast and dropped them off in the West Indies and later on in North America. And, you know, it was a pretty rotten business, let's face it. Now, our John Newton had the reputation of being the most profane sailor ever to have gone on the sea, which is not bad going. He actually got himself kicked out of the English Navy, which was even better going because they used to press gang anybody, let's face it. And he actually got himself kicked out of the Navy for such bad behaviour, bad language, bad everything. Anyway, back to our aboard the slaver. It was called the Greyhound, the ship actually, my memory serves me right. I remember it well, 1748.
Yes, of course you would.
I think it was 1748, I've got that written down somewhere. Yes, 1748. Anyway, this was a terrible storm, and some of his shipmates were actually washed overboard. And even though John Newton had renounced the church and that, he found himself praying to be saved, and whether it was divine intervention or not, of course I know not, but indeed he did survive, and the ship survived. Now legend has it that he turned the ship back, went back to Africa and dropped off the slaves and gave it up and went home and became a minister. Now that's not quite true. He actually continued on as a slaver. He became a captain of a ship himself, but he gradually became disenchanted with this, and his religion came back to him, his faith came back, and with a bit of influence probably from the Wesleys and from Wilberforce, who was trying very hard to get slavery banned, he finally did give it up in 1765 and went on, to cut the long story short, to indeed become a minister. He was ordained as a curate in England. Where he interests us is a little later in 1772. He wrote about his experience, his salvation, his conversion, or whatever you like, in 6 verses, or 6 short verses of poetry. Little did he know at that time that this would go on to be the most recorded song in history. What did he call it? Faith's. You were going to say something? No. Faith's Review and Expectations, it was called. And at any rate, at that stage, of course, it didn't even have a tune, so it wasn't going to get recorded at that. A little later on, again referring to my notes, 1847, after trying several tunes, and they do that to this day in church, the same poetry or the same words might be used for several different tunes and vice versa. This still happens to this day. But after about 20, the song New Britain, the New Britain, became the established song for Newton's words. In 1852, by that time it had gone all over the world. It was in America. You're Mob Amy. And I know not why, but a new verse was written for it, a new last verse, which has become the established thing. I know not why, because actually I think the original Newton last verse was probably better. But probably something to do with, oh, I don't know, did they have copyright laws in those days or whatever? I don't know. But the actual original last verse, and this will help you with your clues, Dorothy. The earth may soon dissolve like snow, the sun forbear to shine, but God who called me here below will be forever mine. That was the original last verse. I think it's better than the one that's these days known as. Let us jump forward to 2006. A major motion picture mob, I think it was Paramount, we're going to make a picture of the life of William Wilberforce and the closing of the slavery business in England, and of course John Newton came into the story because they'd all been together and whatever. And American gospel singer, songwriter Chris Tomlin was brought into the act to choose a few of appropriate tunes from that time to add to the score. The score was actually written, the full musical score was written by David Arnold, who did a lot of the big major scores in Hollywood at that time. I think he still does. But Chris Tomlin ended up writing a segue sort of thing, just 4 lines, which he called My Chains Are Gone. And whereas it'll probably upset the purists, this is now becoming part of Faith's Review and expectations, and it is becoming like that extra last verse. It's becoming part of the song. Dorothy will probably be horrified, but it is happening all over the world. Faith's Review and Revelations, if you haven't tweaked it by now, has been known for probably 2 centuries by its first 2 words, Amazing Grace. Ray will do it for us. Oh, just to be different, for 2 centuries too, it's been played in 3/4 time. We're going to do it in 4/4. It's nothing like being different, is there?
You're not wrong.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. My chains are gone, I've been set free. My God, my Savior has ransomed me, and like a flood, His mercy reigns. Unending love, amazing grace. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. My chains are gone, I've been set free. My God, my Savior has ransomed me, and like a flood, His mercy reigns. Unending love, amazing grace. My chains are gone, my chains are gone. I've been set free, I've been set free. My God, my Savior, my God, my Savior has ransomed me. Bye.